Hello there folks, hope you're doing well. My name's Questionator, I'm main 7 on Paladins as you know, and today I will be talking about the VII patch notes and why they were terrible, how to fix them, and how to properly rework 7 into a better champion design. So, let's start with the VII balance changes. So, to start with we have burst mode. Ammo efficiency went down from 1 to 2 per shot, so you use 6 ammo per burst instead of 3. Damage decreased from 150 to 125, so you deal 750 per burst, and the range went down from 130 to 110 units, which is a good change. You should do the range, not the rest. Automatic mode, the damage increased to 225 from 200, that's fine, and the range decreased from 150 to 95. I'm not sure if the devs got the original effective range wrong, but I don't think automatic mode had 150 units of effective range from what I remember using automatic mode, and the maximum range got decreased as well. Next up, trigger discipline got a nice duration change, so it's now 0.35 seconds instead of 0.65. And cards, the knights got unnecessarily nerfed to 0.25 seconds scaling, and terror got a good change down to 4% scaling. These changes are conflicting. We have terror and burst mode range, which are fine. Automatic mode changes are perfectly fine. But the other changes, trigger discipline is fine by the way. The other changes, like burst mode, ammo efficiency nerf, damage nerf, the knight scaling nerf, completely killed 7. Because that was his reliance on being a good champion. And the problem here is they completely removed 7's entire competitiveness, and now he is in D tier. According to me, according to Andrew, and according to a bunch of people in the Paladins community. So, I have some points here on screen now on the problems with 7. 7 is annoying to play against because there is no end to his mobility when it is combined with Chronos and Spring loaded, which is what caused the Night nerf. 7 currently feels extremely clunky to play because automatic is the current meta fire mode, because it's got the highest DPS over burst mode, which is why decreasing the damage is a bad change. And it does not fit his kit well because there's too many animations which prevent automatic from dealing max DPS, and it just feels really, really clunky to use. 7's fire modes will never be properly balanced, so pretty much, I mean, you've seen 7's history, right? We've had automatic as meta, we've had burst as meta, we've had mag dump as meta, but never in one point in time were they actually good. All at the same time. It's either one's been better than the other, or they've all been garbage. Simple as that. So, and obviously 7 has an extremely low pick rate and win rates with current balancing. Here you go. Bang. This is current comp. So that's for 7. He is the least picked with one of the lowest win rates. And he's still got a decently high ban rate for some reason, which is unusual. So, this clearly is a problem. 7 is in a horrible state right now. So, how do we fix him? I have 2 sets of changes here. I've got short-term and long-term solutions here. I'll go over the short-term ones first, and I'll do the long-term rework afterwards. To start with, short-term. Here we go. The night scaling goes back to 0.5 seconds, 0.5 seconds to match reflection and fire scaling. This is to make tribunal upgrades actually a usable talent again, along with the next change, which is burst mode buffed back to 150 damage per shot instead of 125. So it gives tribunal upgrades its power back, because for some reason they decided to buff tribunal upgrades, which did absolutely nothing, by the way, which is why I didn't include it. Decrease 7's maximum HP by 100, I've skipped over a change, to same HP as Eevee. This is to pretty much make him easier to kill, less annoying to fight against. And mag dump range increased to 25 units effective to make it more usable, because mag dump's been useless for God knows how long. And spring loaded has its 30% cooldown reduction removed for the sake of future balancing, because infinite mobility on a champion shouldn't be a thing. At all. I mean, you've seen what happens when me and Weiro stream snipe Andrew with pre-nerf 7. We would fly around the map like absolute maniacs, and he wouldn't be able to do anything because spring loaded was so strong. And we would just pick spring loaded because it makes us just fly around the map so incredibly quick that we can just get to and from Andrew easily. So those are the short-term solutions. Pretty much this is like you do in one patch, and then you start work on the long-term solutions, of which are coming now. And these do assume that the short-term solution was implemented, all of it. So, here we go. Burst mode is now 7's only fire mode, automatic is removed, trigger discipline replaced with mag dump, 7's right click, and magazine capacity reduced 30 from 40. So automatic is removed because it's what causes the conflict in fire modes, I believe. I think if we had 2 of the fire modes, it would be a lot easier to balance by having mag dump as the dump and run, and burst as the main fire mode for your damage dealing capability. And the magazine capacity reduction is intentional to prevent burst mode from having a weird 1 or 2 shot burst, which for some reason is currently in game. And pretty much these changes will make 7's heavy SMG easier to balance. Next up, burst changes and mag dump changes. We'll go over the burst changes first. Burst damage increased to 300 from 150. Burst ammunition usage decreased from 3 from 6. Bullets per burst reduced to 3 from 6, so you're only dealing 900 damage per burst still. And this change will make 7 easier to counter through Haven, through more sustain, basically through Ray as well. Ray has Envelop, which will now affect burst since its damage is over 300. I don't know what Ray's proper Envelop value is, but I know it will decrease the damage anyways. And from this, we got range changes as well. Effective range decreased to 75 units from 110 to make him a bit more bearable to play against and more. But the maximum range is increased by 25 units to 225 from 200. And this is to facilitate the fall-off curve changes. So from 0 to 75 units, 7 will be dealing 300 damage per bullet in a burst. And then it will decrease over time from 75 units to 225 to 100 damage, of which after that point 7's damage will cut off and not deal damage anymore. This is intentional, because I feel as if 7's poke is a little bit too strong when it comes to having, like, pretty enough 7 had way too much poke. I won't lie, it was basically you could play so far back with such insane mobility that you could play infinite amounts of off angles and just be fine. So pretty much this is just targeting 7's burst mode, just to make it a bit more close range orientated, and to make it more unique in the playstyle, and to make him actually use his mobility in a more risky sense. Next up, mag dump changes. Now fires every single bullet in the magazine individually. This always conflicted in my brain, when you just dump 10 bullets for 1 bullet to come out of your gun. It doesn't really make sense to me. And pretty much all this is doing is making mag dump a bit less consistent overall, but making it more like a mag dump and a bit more like a proper, you're dumping out every single individual bullet, so there's more chances that you will miss, and will make the damage values kind of more erratic, but at the same time it will be less punishing if you actually miss some shots from this next change, where the bullets now deal 70 per bullet for a total of 2,100 damage, 70 multiplied by 30, you can figure that out for yourself. And I'm also removing the ability for mag dump to headshot. This to prevent mag dump from getting a random bunch of headshots to increase its DPS even more and damage, to kind of keep it from like a max of 2,100 damage to prevent it from going overboard. And it also keeps the reload penalty before the rework. Now I forgot to add here that you will still have the trigger discipline animation before you can dump your mag, because it just makes sense. You're actually changing the fire mode on the gun, and then you're able to dump your mag before you reload, and then change it back to burst mode. So that's the changes to heavy SMG. And these are the only base kit changes I have, because I think his heavy SMG is the only conflicting part of his kit which needs proper base kit changes. And these changes should help 7 become more unique, even though we are removing a fire mode, which is technically a unique thing about 7 of changing fire modes, but it's just impossible to balance. Keeping burst mode will make him more unique, because automatic, we've already got a bunch of automatic characters. We've got, Victor, Vivian. Oh, I can go on for a while. Whilst burst mode, we've got Victor with a talent, Inara, who is a projectile burst, Ying, can't really remember off the top of my head other than 7. So I just think it'll be more unique to have that, and a better change from automatics on flanks as well, because we've got Lex, we've got Koga, it's just automatic weapons. So I think giving 7 burst mode instead is just a better idea. Now, on to the talents reworks. I'll start with tribunal upgrades here. So these are just some small changes just to make it a bit more appealing properly, unlike what the devs did. So here we go. Extra damage for burst is applied every 6 shots when hits on an enemy down from 9. So no longer do you hit an enemy halfway through your second burst for an extra 200 damage out of nowhere. It actually applies on the last shot of your burst. And this is obviously to facilitate the burst changes from earlier for the ammo count reduction and the shots per burst reduction. Next up is Mag Dump. Now slows people down for 30% for 3 seconds when an enemy is hit with at least 20 bullets out of your Mag Dump. So you need to hit 2/3 of your magazine pretty much to get that slow. So it's preventing it from happening long range instead of just spamming it long range for random bits of slow, you know. And Mag Dump no longer has a damage fire tick, and obviously the automatic clause is removed as a fire mode no longer exists. This should just help Tribunal actually be a usable talent after this rework to heavy SMG, and to make Mag Dump a bit more unique in the talent rather than just having an extra damage tick like burst mode. Next up, we have Overcharged. Overcharge has changed to be a more usable playstyle, but it may need some extensive testing because obviously you don't want a repeat of 2022-7. If you know, you know. Keeps full non-frontline champions to 7, but now pulls frontline champions to 7 at a 50% effectiveness as a non-frontline champion would. No longer reduces 7's grappling hook charges by 1, but now reduces 7's grappling hook damage by 200 down to 0 damage on hit, but then it's obviously replaced with CC. Now increases grappling hook's cooldown by 2 seconds instead of decreasing it. This is to make the cooldown 16 seconds instead of 14, to make it a bit more, you know, hard to spam, is what I'm going for here. To kind of prevent the CC from just being, oh, I can spam it and then explosive dodge and then spam it again, kind of thing. And if it's not affected by resilience already, it is now affected by it. I cannot tell because, well, shooting range is a bit useless. And it also reduces the range which 7 can grapple enemies by 75 units from 150, so you'll have 75 unit range instead. This really should help Overcharge actually be a usable talent and not a throw pick or a meme pick in casuals. Never play Overcharge, please. Just never. Hopefully with these changes it'll be a usable talent, it won't be overpowered, and it will be interesting. And also counterable. It'll also make 7 use his best movement ability in the case of trying to kill you, so if he does mess up, it's a lot easier to kill 7, it's a lot more punishing, pretty much. And finally, for the talent changes, we have Spring Loaded. Spring Loaded is reworked to be more of a trapper playstyle rather than a mobility reliant playstyle. So, keeps drops an explosion where you land and take off from, increases number of bombs able to be out by 2 to 4, increases bomb detection range by 50%, so the range it starts exploding from, and increases bomb explosion radius by 25%, which can stack with pop-off to 75%, and bomb duration now lasts forever until destroyed or exploded. This should make Spring Loaded a unique playstyle. Again, I'm going for all 3 talents to be unique from one another, and to actually be usable in most cases, hopefully in ranked as well, but obviously Spring Loaded with this change might only be a casual playstyle, but it still looks unique, it still looks fun, and you can shoot 7's bombs to counter it, and 7's bombs are obviously quite loud as well. But it just creates a more unique playstyle for 7 just to make it much more interesting. And obviously you don't get a 30% cooldown reduction because we are assuming that the short-term solutions are implemented. So, now we are on to the final bit here of card changes. Because automatic is removed, we also have to change some cards, and there's 2 filler cards which I want to make some changes to make them more appealing, and to make them make more sense. So, here we go. Night Watch. This originally gave you ammo upon activating Trigger Discipline, which was useless. So, Night Watch now reduces Mag Dump spread by 10% base and 5% per point added to the card, so it's a maximum of 30% spread reduction. This is just a good filler card, I think, to make Mag Dump a bit more consistent for a dump and run kind of playstyle. Next up, Red Room now increases 7's reload speed after an elimination or killing blow by 5% per tier to a maximum of 25% for 3 seconds, or the secondary effect, which I have an idea on, increases by 25% for 1 second or 0.5 seconds per tier. I'm not sure which one I would go for personally. I think either way it would be an alright filler card to have like a 2 point or a 1 point, depending on which one you go for. And generally speaking, I think the second idea is a bit better, because it would make it a bit more of an interesting filler card. But obviously that's for you guys to give me feedback on. Obviously give me feedback on this. If you give me feedback, I can reply, I can see what I can do. And obviously, the more feedback, the better. Next up, aggressive dodge. So at base it is 5% and then increases by 5%. And I'm increasing it to 10% base and 5% per tier to make it a more appealing tier 1 filler card. Because right now, sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. It doesn't really have too big of an impact, but I think just having that card give 10% base would make it a bit more appealing for people to use as a filler card. Just to get that little bit of extra combat mobility out of 7. Although his combat mobility is still not very good. And that's the point of 7, I think. Next up, Nasty Surprise. Decreasing its minimum value, but increasing its scaling value. So it's going from 10 bullets when you use explosive dodge to 6, but it scales at 6 instead of 5 as well to a maximum of 30. So at tier 5 you get your full ammo back for using explosive dodge, but for a filler card it will give you 2 bursts worth of ammo back. I think this is more consistent with 7 because then all of a sudden you don't get random amounts of ammo, like, you know, a 2 burst or a 1 burst. And then you can obviously put more points into it if you want more bursts out of it, or if you want to never reload a 7 kind of build. And hopefully it will just be a much more consistent card, a bit better for burst mode, and a bit better for 7 overall. Awesome. Right, that's all the changes from me. That's everything. Hope you guys enjoyed. Obviously give me your feedback in the description. This is from a 7 main. Maybe it's biased, maybe it's too much, I don't know. Feedback is really appreciated. Please give me it, so I can actually make changes to this. I will think about working on 7 guides. I will think about working on tier list videos as well for the meta, in my opinion, obviously. And generally speaking, I will think about doing some Paladins content because, you know, not many people nowadays do guides. So I'm thinking maybe I should be like the guy who does flank guides or something, or just 7 stuff. Who knows? Anyways, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye now.